Hi guys, so in this video I wanted to talk about my top 20 favourite movies from the year 2016. So these are all in accordance with the release dates from IMDb, and of course there's no right or wrong to this list. These are just my top 20 personal favourite movies from the year 2016. So that being said, I have an absolute fuck ton of honourable mentions I want to get through, so I'm going to try and get through them as quickly as possible. So kicking it off with my first one, it's Fences with Denzel Washington, Viola Davis. Absolute acting powerhouse, this movie. Really enjoyed it. Fully recommend checking it out. Next honorable mention, Tom Hanks, Sully, Miracle on the Hudson. Great movie. Really enjoyed this. Next up, we've got The Accountant with Ben Affleck. Yeah, just this really good low-key action movie, which I really enjoyed. Next honorable mention, Swiss Army Man, Daniel Radcliffe and Paul Dano. So strange, but I really loved it. M. Night Shyamalan's Split, James McAvoy, absolutely superb in this film. Really creepy movie as well. Speaking of creepy movies, Don't Breathe. Absolutely love this one, just didn't quite make the list for me. There's a scene that happens towards the end of this film with the turkey baster, which I just found was absolutely disgusting, but I still really loved it and looking forward to the sequel too. Next up, Jackie with Natalie Portman. She's absolutely on point in this film. Really enjoyed it. Next up, Jessica Chastain and Miss Sloane. Yeah, another film I really enjoyed. I know a lot of people say it's slow burn or boring. I did not feel that way about it at all. I just thought it was really entertaining. Next up, Kubo and the Two Strings. Really unique and original animation. Just didn't quite make the list for me. But yeah, fully worth checking out. Next up, we've got The Underrated Loving. Yeah, this was one I really enjoyed. Really relevant to today in my opinion as well. But a great little film. Next up, we've got Elle, really dark film, directed by Paul Verhoeven, who of course did RoboCop and Total Recall. Yeah, just a really good foreign film with some really dark moments in it. Next up, we got Why Him, with James Franco and Bryan Cranston. I enjoyed this for what it was. Thought it was really fun. Nothing special, but worth a mention, I thought. Next up, we got Deepwater Horizon with Mark Wahlberg. Movie about the BP oil spill. Didn't enjoy it the first time, but on second time, I really took to it a lot more. Great looking steelbook too. Speaking of Mark Wahlberg, Patriots Day. Yeah, I really enjoyed this film. Thought it was absolutely great. Great sort of depiction of the Boston bombings that happened a couple of years ago. And it just led to this really satisfying ending as well. So fully recommend Patriots Day. Next up, 10 Cloverfield Lane. Yeah, another great little suspenseful, claustrophobic sci-fi thriller. Really enjoyed John Goodman in this. Next up, we got Passengers, Jennifer Lawrence and Chris Pratt. Sort of generic sci-fi movie, but I thought it was okay. I didn't really mind it that much. Next up, we got Brad Pitt in Allied, Robert Zemeckis film. Yeah, I thought this movie was okay. Nothing special, but wasn't bad either. Next up, we got Free Fire. Yeah, I thought this movie was okay. It got a bit annoying at times, but I didn't mind it. I thought it had quite a good cast. Next up, we got Snowden with Joseph Gordon-Levitt, another sort of like political thriller. Really sort of weird to see Nicolas Cage in this, not really being Nicolas Cage. But yeah, I thought it was okay. Next up, we've got the spiritual sequel to Dazed and Confused, and it's Everybody Wants Some. Not much of a plot in this film, but I really dug the characters in it and had a really good time with it. Thought it was really entertaining, so well worth checking out. Next up, we got Jim Jarmusch's Patterson. I enjoyed this little drama and thought it was really good. Great performance from Adam Driver. Next up, we've got I, Daniel Blake. A really, really good film, but way too depressing for me to include on the list. One of Ken Loach's best, in my opinion. Up there for me with Kez. But yeah, just way too depressing. Next up, we've got Tony Erdmann. I don't know what this movie was about or what it was trying to do, but I absolutely loved it and thought it was just so creative and original. But yeah, just way too weird. Didn't quite make the list for me, but is far from a bad film. Next honourable mention, Conjuring 2. Great sequel, great horror film. Really enjoyed it, just didn't quite make the list. Next up, got Ben Affleck's Live by Night, which of course he directed. Great looking steelbook as well, but for me, this was just a bit Oscar baity, this movie. Next honourable mention, Star Trek Beyond. Great third movie into the Star Trek series. Really, really enjoyed it. Idris Elba as the villain, really good, but just didn't quite make the list for me. Next up, probably one of the most divisive films, Batman v Superman. Got it on 3D Steelbook. Is a good looking Steelbook, but make what you will about the film. I just thought it was okay. Nothing special. Next up, we've got Disney's Zootropolis. I really enjoyed this. Thought it was really good. Sort of touches on race a little bit, but with animals instead. And I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good time. Really enjoyed it. Same can be said for the next one, Moana. I had a good time with this, thought it was really good, just didn't quite make the list for me. Next honourable mention, Doctor Strange. Yeah, a really good looking movie, to be honest. I like Mads Mikkelsen as the villain. Tilda Swinton's in there. Rachel McAdams is a bit wasted, to be honest. She doesn't really have much to do. But Benedict Cumberbatch was a good choice for Doctor Strange, in my opinion. And my last honourable mention is Finding Dory. Just wasn't as good as Finding Nemo, in my opinion. It just sort of falls into that same category as Frozen 2. It's fine, but yeah, it was just a little bit disappointing given the quality of the first film. So, after nearly 8 minutes, they're all of my honourable mentions, so I'm going to get straight in with number 20 now, and it's Manchester by the Sea. I love the performances in this from Casey Affleck and Michelle Williams. I really, really enjoyed this film. Went to the cinema to see it. Still got my tickets stub inside. But yeah, really, really enjoyed this. I thought Casey Affleck was well worthy of winning the Oscar. I know some people can think this movie's a bit boring. It is a bit of a slow burn, but it's a proper drama. Great to see Tate Donovan in there as well, and Matthew Broderick. So, really enjoyed Manchester by the Sea. Next up for me at number 19 is Martin Scorsese's Silence. Just what an emotionally draining film with a great cast to it. Liam Neeson, Andrew Garfield, Adam Driver. Sort of about these two priests going on the hunt for this other priest played by Liam Neeson in a country where Christianity is pretty much illegal and you'll be executed for it. The dominant religion there is Buddhism. It's just absolutely horrific and draining, some of the stuff that we see in this movie. But it's one of Martin Scorsese's best, in my opinion, and is a bit of a slow burn, but it's just draining. If you're in the right mindset for it, give it a watch. But I think it's a brilliant film. Next up at number 18 for me is The Edge of 17. I really, really enjoyed this little teen drama. I thought it was great. Sort of about this girl who has to deal with the fact that her best friend is sort of dating her brother, and she just can't really cope with it and just finds it just a bit strange and a bit abnormal, and it just leads to like real life situations. But I really, really dug Edge of 17 and thought it was absolutely fantastic. So check that one out if you can find it. Coming up next for me at number 17 is the film that infamously won Best Picture this year, and it's Moonlight. Of course, there was the big cock-up where La La Land was announced. But for me, Moonlight, it's a brilliant film. I really, really dig it about this guy who we follow through three different stages of his life. Yeah, I just thought it was absolutely fantastic and a great sort of character study about this actor. Mahershala Ali is just on point in this film too, as the father figure. But yeah, Naomi Harris as well. Oh, it's the best she's been. Sort of really put on the map from the Daniel Craig Bond films, but in this she was just really given stuff to work with. But yeah, check out Moonlight. I had a great time with it. Coming up next for me at number 16 is a movie a lot of people say is underrated, but I don't think it is. I think it gets the credit it deserves. And it's Sing Street. Yeah, I think this movie got way overhyped for me, but it's great. It's still great nonetheless. I don't think it's as good as people are saying it is, but it's still a fantastic film. Yeah, I just had an absolute great time with it. The music in this movie is just superb and on point, and it's just absolutely brilliant. I know I've said I don't think it's underrated, but I do still think it's a great film. But yeah, fully recommend checking out Sing Street. You'll have an absolute blast with it. It's just so much fun. So yeah, check Sing Street out. Coming up next for me at number 15 is Nocturnal Animals with Amy Adams and Jake Gyllenhaal. This film was such an uncomfortable watch, yet it was such a brilliant movie all the same. I absolutely loved most of this movie. The opening sequence is very strange and very bizarre. If you've seen it, you'll know what I'm on about. But yeah, Aaron Taylor Johnson in this is just an absolute despicable piece of shit. With some of the stuff he does, I won't dare spoil what his character does, but it's very, very uncomfortable. Michael Shannon, of course, getting the Oscar nomination as well. He's great in this too. It's just got a great cast. Jake Gyllenhaal is superb in it, as always. And Amy Adams is really good too. So I fully recommend checking out Nocturnal Animals. It's not for everyone. It's a bit of a quite disturbing film, but yeah, fully recommend it if you're in the right mindset for it. So yeah, coming up at number 14 for me is Hidden Figures, another movie I went to the cinema to see and thought it was absolutely fantastic. Sort of shining a light, this movie, on black women of the 60s who were really the driving force for NASA and the space program and trying to beat the Russians in the space race, which of course the Russians did win, but America did win the moon landing. But yeah, I thought this was absolutely great, given these characters the recognition they deserved, and I had an absolute blast with it. Great cast to it as well. Really enjoyed it. Thought it was absolutely brilliant. Yeah, I can't really praise the movie enough. I had such a good time with it and thought it was absolutely fantastic. So check Hidden Figures out. It's absolutely brilliant. It's coming up at number 13 for me is Lion. Yeah, I'm not a massive Dev Patel fan, but this movie had such a rich and compelling story. It was just absolutely fantastic. It sort of follows this young boy who gets separated from his family and ends up becoming lost and ends up becoming adopted as well. And he can't really remember anything sort of really about where he came from. But then something clicks that he finds on Google Maps and it leads him back to where he was from, and it just had this absolute heartbreaking tale, and it was really just such a really good film, and the performances in it as well are just absolutely superb, particularly from Nicole Kidman as Dev Patel's adopted mother. I just really enjoyed the movie and thought it was a fantastic drama, so check Lion out, won't be disappointed. So coming up next to me at number 12 is another movie with Amy Adams, and we've also got Jeremy Renner and Forrest Whitaker, and it's Arrival. Yeah, absolutely stunning looking movie. I know some people might be disappointed with the look of the alien creatures in this film. I had an absolute blast with it and thought it was absolutely fantastic. We got just the right amount, in my opinion. Yeah, I thought this movie just was absolutely great. The visuals, the direction. Denis Villeneuve could just do no wrong, in my opinion. Prisoners, Blade Runner 2049, Sicario, this, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what Dune's all about too. It just looked absolutely brilliant and was just fantastic performances, fantastic direction, great looking film. Really, really enjoyed Arrival. So coming up next at number 11 for me is Viggo Mortensen in Captain Fantastic. This movie was just so much fun. I loved all the characters in it. So it pretty much follows Viggo Mortensen's character, whose wife has passed away, and he pretty much lives off the grid with all of his kids. And it's all about him sort of dealing with what his wife wanted in her funeral and what she wanted to do. She was more of like a Buddhist, but her parents are like, no, that's not the funeral we want to give her. And he sort of like intervenes with like wanting to make sure she gets the proper send-off. Frank Langella as well as the father-in-law was just absolutely brilliant. Steve Zahn too. Yeah, I just had so much fun with Captain Fantastic. It really, really is a great movie. You just dig for all and root for all these characters. It's just so much fun. So coming up next for me at number 10 is probably the most recent film on this list that I've seen. I didn't know what to expect with it, and I had an absolute blast. Thought it was absolutely brilliant. And it's Train to Busan, one of the best zombie movies I've seen in a very, very long time. So energetic and so action-packed. This movie just doesn't take a second or a minute to breathe whatsoever. It is on the move all the time, and you were just hooked and riveted by it. It is just so brilliant. It's kind of like The Raid with zombies, but without the shooting. Just in terms of that action aesthetics that it has, it's just it's a million miles an hour. It's just so good. The characters in it are really interesting in what they do too, particularly one of those villainous ones. I just had an absolute blast with Train to Busan. Thought it was so much fun. Yeah, it was just a great time and a great watch. Just really enjoyed Train to Busan. So coming up next for me at number 9 is On Monster Calls. Yeah, I had an absolute blast with this. It sort of follows this young lad whose mum's dying of cancer, played by Felicity Jones, and his father's in there as well, played by Toby Kebbell. And this monster comes into his life, and it tells him these 3 tales, all with like different morals and different outlooks on life. But the tales he tells aren't black and white. They're the most grey stories you've ever heard. They're just so interesting and so in depth. I just had an absolute blast with it. Liam Neeson as well as the monster was absolutely superb. I always forget Sigourney Weaver's in this too. But yeah, I just think it's an absolutely fantastic looking film. Went to cinema to see it as well. Really enjoyed A Monster Calls. Just absolute fabulous film. So fully recommend checking that one out. Right, coming up next for me at number 8 is Deadpool. Yeah, had so much fun with this. Ryan Reynolds finally bringing justice to the character from that god-awful X-Men Origins film. And of course, this movie is just absolutely ruthlessly, unapologetically making fun of that film. And being its own film too. I just had an absolute blast with this film. It was such a joy, such a breath of fresh air. Great to see the character being given, the 15 rating and just going all out with it. Yeah, just had so much fun with it. The Merc with the Mouth, yeah, it was brilliant. It was just such a good time. The sequel's equally as good too. Just enjoy both these movies. The humor in it is on point. The opening scenes absolutely brilliant. Just Deadpool is just so much fun. Great comic book movie too. So check Deadpool out if you've not seen it. Right, my next pick at number 7 is another comic book movie, and it's Captain America: Civil War. Now, I don't think you can go into this movie without seeing any of the others. I think at this point, you really need to do some homework with the MCU and have seen a good chunk of the movies if you're to get anything out of this movie, to be honest. But what I liked about this movie is you can see the ideologies from both sides with what has happened in previous movies to lead us to this point, and you can understand the reasons that Captain America makes and the decisions that Captain America makes, and you can understand the decisions that Iron Man wants to make too, and it causes this rift, which we see slightly starting to simmer in Age of Ultron, but it all comes to a head in this one with a decision that's put before the Avengers to become more of a government tool and to only really be used when the government calls upon them as a last resort. Captain America doesn't agree with that, but Iron Man does. And of course we find out a bit more about the Winter Soldier and what a key part he played in sort of Tony Stark's backstory. But the action in this was just absolutely superb. It could have been another Avengers movie, this. I think the only people we were missing were Thor and Hulk. But yeah, great introduction as well with Spider-Man and Black Panther. It was just great to see them thrown in there without sort of having given them their own movie yet, which would come later. But it was just great to see them established in this, and it was a great movie. Much, much better than Batman v Superman. Batman v Superman was just playing catch up to get to this movie to sort of rival it. But this movie has stakes. You're invested. It's not just thrown at you on the screen. There's substance to it, and there's things going on there, and it was just absolutely great. So, yeah, I recommend Civil War, but only if you've done your homework and have seen the movies prior to it. That's when you'll enjoy it at its best. Right, so coming up next for me at number 6 is Hell or High Water. I thought this movie was absolutely fabulous. I just enjoyed it so much. Ben Foster and Chris Pine as these two brothers who rob these banks, and the sheriffs are just pretty much chasing them. And the standout to me, there's two standouts to me really of this movie. One is a scene that takes place at a petrol gas station with Chris Pine just absolutely losing his shit. I loved that scene. Thought it was just so action filled and so adrenaline filled. It was just absolutely brilliant. And the shootout sequence towards the end of the film had me absolutely riveted and absolutely hooked. I just thought it was absolutely brilliant. Jeff Bridges on point, firing at all pistons, doing what he does best. I loved it. Thought it was just so grounded and so fantastically written. Well made film too. So check out Hell or High Water. Absolutely brilliant. Next for me at number 5, Mel Gibson's Hacksaw Ridge. Just a great overdue story for Desmond Doss, this movie. Pacifist who everyone was against. The guy just couldn't win no matter what situation he was put in. Would not touch or handle a gun whatsoever. Wanted to serve in the Second World War as a medic and save people who were injured, but everyone was just against him and giving him the most unnecessary hard time. You can understand why, but it came back to bite them on the arse big time, in my opinion, particularly with Vince Vaughn's character. Sam Worthington. And by the end of the movie, they completely see him in a different light. I'll tell you who else was brilliant in this film. Hugo Weaving as Desmond's dad. Just what a great performance by him. I really, really enjoyed it. And again, another hidden gem by Mel Gibson as a director. The guy's just on point, just so good. The action sequences in this towards the end, yeah, they're up. I think they're just under par with, say, the opening scenes to Saving Private Ryan. It's so good and it's just absolutely amazing. So if you've not seen it, I fully recommend Hacksaw Ridge. Brilliant film with a brilliant cast and a brilliant story. So yeah, fully recommend it. Right, coming up next for me at number 4 is the film that infamously didn't win Best Picture. And it's Damien Chazelle's La La Land with Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone. Of course, Emma Stone taking home the statue for Best Actress. She's going from strength to strength for me. Just absolutely love some of her stuff. Crazy Stupid Love, Cruella, Battle of the Sexes, Superbad, Easy A. Yeah, just absolutely fantastic. Fantastic movie. Now, a lot of people I've spoke to about it don't enjoy this film at all. I think some people I spoke to couldn't finish it. They just really couldn't get into it. And I was like, it's fair enough. Musicals aren't for everyone. But for me, I absolutely loved it. I loved the homages to old Hollywood. And I really dug the music too. I thought it was really fantastic. And I loved the chemistry between the two of them. They've worked a couple of times together now. I think this is their third film together. But yeah, I've got it on Steelbook here too. Absolutely brilliant looking film. I just love La La Land and think it's an absolutely fantastic musical. So yeah, as I said, it's not for everyone. If you love this movie, then I think your love for it is right up there. It's very extreme, I think, in its love and hate that people have for it. But I really enjoyed it and thought it was absolutely fantastic. So yeah, I'm going to recommend it again. Check La La Land out. Right, coming up next for me at number 3 is Taika Waititi's Hunt for the Wilder People. One of the funniest movies I've seen in a very long time. I absolutely enjoyed the hell out of this. Sort of about this young lad who's a bit of a delinquent who ends up having to live with his aunt and uncle, and the two of them just don't really get on, and they form this bond as they get lost in the woods. And it is just so funny. The dialogue in it is just absolutely brilliant. It's got some heart-wrenching stuff in there too, particularly one scene with the dog. But I just thought it was so funny. Taika Waititi's direction and his writing in this movie just absolutely make it. He's got a small cameo in the movie too. I just had an absolute blast with it. It was so much fun. So check Hunt for the Wilder People out if you've not seen it. You won't be disappointed in my opinion. So coming up next to me at number 2 is another film with Ryan Gosling, Russell Crowe, and it's Shane Black's The Nice Guys. Really underperformed this when it first came out. I went to cinema to see it gladly, and I had an absolute blast with it. It was just so much fun. Had a real feel of Lethal Weapon to it as well, which of course, Shane Black wrote as well. But yeah, just one of his best films in recent years. Massive improvement from Iron Man 3 in my opinion. I just really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the chemistry between these two characters. They were just so funny. And yeah, I can't really say much more than that. It had a couple of actors popping up in it as well along the way, like Kim Basinger and Keith David as well from The Thing. It was just so much fun. I had an absolute good time with this movie. Yeah, it just really impressed me how much of a breath of fresh air The Nice Guys was. Just absolutely enjoyed it. Right, so my number 1 pick for 2016 is, you may have seen this movie, you may have not. You probably won't have this at your number one, but this movie just really, really did something to me, and I found it absolutely fascinating. It's Michael Keaton and The Founder. Yeah, I was hooked and riveted by this from second one, pretty much. It's not a movie with a happy ending. It's not a happy story. It's pretty much about Ray Kroc, who was this out of his luck milkshake salesman, stumbles across a restaurant called McDonald's, ran by these two brothers, and they pretty much show him how the restaurant works, how the business started, and he basically sees the potential in this restaurant and this business, which the two brothers don't really want to venture into. They don't really want to make it a franchise because they tried it and they had quality control issues. So they were just right, let's just put all our focus and effort into this one restaurant. But Ray Kroc wanted to turn it into the absolute juggernaut that McDonald's is today. He was like, I want to make McDonald's the next American church. And of course, unless you're living under a rock, you'll know that you can't go like 10 feet without walking past a McDonald's. It just led to this absolutely brutal ending with Michael Keaton's character. Not a very likeable character, not a sympathetic character, but his ruthlessness was just absolutely fascinating. And it was just such a shame to see what he did to these two brothers, but he didn't really care about that. All he wanted to do was take the name McDonald's and give it the potential that it deserved. And he just ran with it and, as I said, turned it into this juggernaut of a fast food chain. And for me, it's an absolutely brilliant film. It's probably not the best film out of all of these, but it's the one I enjoyed the most. And I just found it absolutely fascinating. So if you've not seen The Founder, I fully recommend it. Some people can consider it a bit of a slow burn, but I was riveted by it, and I just thought it was, as I said, it was so fascinating to me. I feel probably the same way about this movie as Geekvolution does, because I know he's a big fan of this film. But yeah, I enjoyed the hell out of this movie. A lot of actors popping up in it as well, like Laura Dern and Nick Offerman, who I actually saw live in Dublin. He was brilliant. But yeah, fully recommend The Founder. I just thought it was, fascinating is the best word I can give to describe it. And I just massively enjoyed it. So yeah, those are my top 20 favourite movies from the year 2016. So I'll leave the video there, guys, and say thanks very much for watching. If you enjoyed it and if you're new, please think about hitting the subscribe button. It means a great deal to me. And I'll say thanks very much for watching again. Stay safe and take care. I'll see you soon.